Hey, how's it going? Glad you could join us, and welcome to our first lesson on developing your engineering intuition of structures. And today we're going to be covering the load path method, which is essentially just looking at the point of application of a load and then following the routes that that load can take through the structure in order to get to the supports. Because the load will always try to find its way to the supports, and it'll go through whatever path it needs to get there. Alright, so our first example is just a simple 2-bay truss with an X configuration, and it's got a pin support and a roller support here with the point load right in the middle. Now, let's do our little technique of load path. So if we have a point load here, basically the load wants to get to these two supports. Now, how can it get there? Well, first, let's look at only the members that it's currently connected to at this particular joint. Now, it could try to go through these members because it could get to the low or the supports very directly through that. But this is a truss, so this joint is actually a pin joint. So there's no way for these horizontal members to carry a vertical load like this. So the only course that this load can go through is these three members. It can go up through this left one, it can go up through this middle one, or through the right one. Now, if it's going up, let's say it goes through this middle one, it'll get to this top joint, and then we can do the same thing. However, like with the bottom chords, it can't go through these two paths into the top chords because it's a vertical force that's pointing down. So these horizontal members can't carry any vertical load. So the only way for this load to transmit is through these two members here. And now it has direct line of sight to go through this member straight down to the support here and straight down to the support here. Likewise, if we go through one of these members all the way up, we can kind of follow it up to this point, and then it can come straight down through this member. Now, let's see what happens if we run our analysis and check out the stress distribution, the axial force. Now, you can see in these members, pretty much, as the load is traveling up through any of these three paths that we first described, those members are then put into tension. Because you can kind of imagine that if we have these 3 points fixed, then pretty much, and we confined our attention just to these members here, then it's kind of like, we have this hanging truss configuration. The load is going to be pulling down on all of them. So we would think, okay, those members would probably then be in tension, which makes sense. So if we went up through this path, so again, as the load goes up, it causes the members to go into tension, and as it gets to this point, now remember, it's got to go down through one of these two paths to get to the supports. But as it's going down, it causes the members to go into compression. So pretty much, if the load has to travel up through a member, it'll cause that member to go into tension. But if it's traveling down through a member, then it'll cause that member to go into compression. So that's I think that's pretty helpful, at least. Now, what's happening with the top and bottom chords? We said that it can't travel through these members, but really this is just kind of something that we'll leave off for maybe another lesson as to why this is happening. But pretty much you can kind of think of it like if these tensile chords are pulling inwards on this outer end of, or each outer end of this top chord, then this top chord would then have to be put into compression. And likewise, if each of these downward sloping compression chords are pushing out on this bottom chord, then it would be putting the bottom chord into tension, if that makes sense. Alright, well, let's move on to the next example, and I'm going to iterate my design forward and basically say that, okay, well, in this design, I'm going to take out those sloping diagonals here. So the load can only travel up through this member and then down through these members down to the supports. Now, in this case, it's a little different because these members, since they're coming in at right angles, there's no way for them to transfer force to each other, which means that they are zero force members. Now, we should have force in our bottom chord, but pretty much those should be zero force on the ends. And here, pretty much we can go up in tension through any of these three, and then once we get here, we can go down in compression. But notice we're not pushing out anymore on these bottom chords. So the bottom chords should actually carry no load, but we still are putting our top chords into compression because we're pulling inward on that top chord. Now let's check that out. Yeah, all right. So it's pretty much kind of like I said, but in this case, pretty much for the same reason that these members couldn't transfer any load to each other and thus were zero force members, this member is also zero force because it's perpendicular to these, and thus it cannot receive or transmit any load to these horizontal members. So it's got to be zero force. Now let's iterate our design forward again. So now I've taken out my zero force members in this case, and in this case I've actually taken this point and pushed it into here, and likewise on the other side. I've kept my zero force member just because I like having her around. I don't know. He's an old friend from high school. I never really... Anyways, now let's go up and check out how the load is going to transmit. For the way that it transmits through this structure should be exactly the same as it did in this one, but the difference here is that now we're going to go up through this member in tension, and we're going to come down in compression. And again, we're going to be pushing out on this bottom chord on both sides with these compressive members coming down. So that means that this bottom chord is now going to be back in tension. And of course, the top one will be in compression because we're pulling in here and we're pushing in here. All right, so let's check that out. And yeah, so that's what happens. That's how we roll. Let's roll down to the next one then. So now I've actually done something tricky here. I'm still applying my point load right there, but I've cut off this tendon. So there's no longer any way for the load to travel up to this top series of members. So it's got to go through the beam now. But notice I said beam. It's no longer a truss. So this is not a hinge joint. It is a continuous beam member, and I'm applying a load in the middle. So this middle member will behave like a beam, and it will transmit the load to the supports directly. And because the beam can only transmit vertical forces, it cannot transmit axial forces, our top members will carry no axial force, and in fact, our beam won't carry any axial force either. In this case, I'm just removing that vertical tendon, but in this case, since it was a zero force member, it'll do absolutely nothing to change how the loads distribute. Let's check out how that happens, and yes, that is correct. So pretty much the same here, but in this case, now we have no axial load in any of our truss members, but we do have moment now. Check it out. So we're putting moment now into this little singular lonely beam. How sad. Okay, now let's do a slightly more complex example, and like with the original design, I've now expanded it to 4 bays, and I have this X bracing thing, and I still have my load in the middle, and it's gonna still try to get out to the supports. So how's the load gonna go? Well, like with our original design, it'll go up through these members in tension. So it'll go up in tension, and then it'll come down in compression. So that's a good way to think of how each of these members is going to react. So if it goes through, let's follow this path first. So it'll go up in tension, come down in compression. Then it'll go up in tension and come down in compression. It could try to go up through this way, but I don't think it'll do that. How do I know? Intuition. You'll get there. Now it could go up also through this member in tension and then come down in compression. And I'm just gonna say, just because I don't know, just because I feel like it, the top members are all going to be in compression, because that was usually the case for all of our members on the top chords last time. And same thing on the bottom. I'm going to predict most of these on the bottom are going to be in tension. Alright, let's see if that's correct. Oh, Mundo. Yeah. Alright, so it goes through these members in tension, and pretty much once it gets here, it comes down in compression, goes up in tension, and comes down in compression. Or it can go up in tension here and then down in compression there. Bottom chords are in tension, our top chords are in compression. Just like I predicted, and oh yes, intuition. These members aren't doing anything. Why is that? Well, pretty much this one coming up in tension is canceling with this one coming down in compression, and this one coming down in compression is canceling with this one in tension. So all the forces are pretty much being handled by the diagonal ones, and the vertical ones are just kind of left hanging in the dust. So the next version of our design, I'm going to again remove some diagonals from each one, So now I pretty much can only go up in tension and then come down in compression through the diagonal ones. So all the vertical ones now should be in tension, and the ones coming down, diagonals, should be in compression, except for these ones on the outside. If you remember from the last time, these should be zero force. In this case, we're going to go up through all three of these in tension, but oh, wait, this is a perpendicular joint. So this one's got to be a zero force member. There's no way for it to carry any load. So it can only go up through these diagonals in tension, and then come down in compression, and then these diagonals again will be in tension. So the verticals in this case will be in compression, and the diagonals will be in tension. And in both cases, we should hope that most of the top chord's in compression and the bottom's in tension, with the exception of these two. Because remember, it's coming straight down. The load is going straight down in compression, so there's no way for it to push out and cause these to go into tension. So bear that in mind. And indeed, these carry no load. Now this is carrying no load, and these are carrying no load. And all of the verticals are in tension on this side, all the verticals are in compression on this side. All the diagonals are in compression on this side. All the diagonals are in tension on this side. Compression on the top and tension on the bottom, always, or so it would seem. I don't want to lead you too much astray. All right, well, this last case, or not last case, almost last case. You wish this was the last case. Now let's push out these points again. So at this point I'm going to push to here. This point I'm going to push to here. This point I'm going to push into here. This point I'm going to push out a little bit to here. And this point I'm going to push into here. And symmetrize the whole bridge and do some stuff. Zero force members, remember, because they're perpendicular to each other. Zero force because it's perpendicular here too. But, you know, the behavior overall in both cases should remain the same, because we're going up in tension, down in compression, up in tension, down in compression. Just follow that load path from the point of application. And then remember, top chords in compression, bottom chords in tension. So yes, that's the case. We go up in tension and we go down in compression. Up in tension, down in compression. Up, down, up, down. Yes. It's an exercise video now. In this case, I'm just removing the zero force members from this one, so it should behave exactly the same. And then this one, I'm removing that zero force member in the middle, so it should behave exactly the same. Is that the case? Yes, it is! Oh, you win a free car or something. Well, you know, you still have to pay taxes on the car, I think. It's kind of, I don't know, I think that's kind of mean, I think. Anyways, where am I going with this? Let's go to the last one. Now it's the last one. And in this case, now check it out. It's kind of like in our first example when we got to the bottom and we had that point load still applied in the middle. And now we would expect that this member will act like a beam. It'll carry moment, but it'll transfer vertical forces at its equivalent supports to these 2 points, here and here. So we'll have now, just forget about this beam for the moment. Just think about its the reactions that it's transmitting to the rest of the structure. There'll be 2 loads pulling down at each of these joints, and we can imagine that, okay, whoa, wait, I can go up through this chord or through this chord, and same thing, I can go up through this chord or up through this chord. So if the load is going up through all of these, then it means that all of these are then going to be in tension. So it's going to go up through the load path, and then it's going to find its way down. And since it's going down this way and this way, or it could go down this way, blah, 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 the top chords should all be in tension. Bottom chords, whoa, what did I just say? No, the top chord should be in compression, and the bottom is in tension. Jesus, what is wrong with me? Okay. And the same thing, this should behave very similarly to this one. It's just going to go up in tension and down in compression through whichever path it really feels like. Okay. Let's check that. Yes! I was right! It's not like I haven't done this before. So now we have all these in tension. That's really cool. And then it's all the top in compression, all the bottom in tension, all the top in compression, all the bottom in tension. And we have everything going up. If our load is going up through a path, it'll be putting that member in tension, and as it comes down, it'll put that member into compression. So hopefully that was kind of useful. Nice little heuristics that'll kind of help you to figure out what load in a member will be compressive and which will be tensile. All right. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.